the weather forecast with C3 Production.
Good evening, good people, and another wonderful opportunity to be in your company with the weather forecast. I hope you had an amazing day. Between tonight and tomorrow morning, we expect a relatively calm weather with moderate to heavy precipitation in the littoral, far north, and the southwest regions. A minimum of 15 to 16 degrees is expected in the west and northwest regions, the Adamawa region as low as 17 degrees, and the center and south at 19, with the east expecting a minimum of 20 degrees. Detailing the littoral tonight, there may be heavy rainfall in the town of Vidéo, and by morning, a thunderstorm experience with a fully clouded sky may dominate the littoral region. Next, we go on to the far north, where tonight heavy rainfall may dominate Mokolo, Marua, Mora, and Kaili, progressing till morning with a fully clouded sky in the entire far north region. Lastly, we go on to the southwest, where there may be a thunderstorm experience in the entire region tonight with heavy rainfall in Mundemba, Kumba, and Mamfe by morning. To protect yourself and others against the coronavirus, avoid hugging, stay away from congested areas, and in case of symptoms, call 1510. Have a beautiful time.
The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, in a series of decrees, raises the retirement age of civil servants of the Public Health Corps to 60 and 55, decisions which acknowledge their sacrifice, analyzed in this newscast. Security and administrative authorities address the security threats gaining grounds in the Center region. A crisis meeting, Governor Nasiri Paul Biya requests vigilance and collaboration from the population. Two bills relating to the freedom of association and the regulation of artistic and cultural associations in Cameroon have been endorsed at the plenary sitting chaired by House Speaker Honorable Kavaege Jibril. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 news.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
As we announced in our top stories, the presidential decrees raising the retirement age of civil servants of the Public Health Corps to 60 years for categories A and B and 55 years for categories C and D have been hailed by the health personnel. At the Public Health Emergency Operations Unit, the move has been described as an immense acknowledgement of the work done so far in saving lives. Ben Buma is there with first-hand information and the reactions of the personnel. Hello, Benin.
Good evening to you, Esther, and welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, just as you said it today. Of course, we are not bringing to you statistics about COVID or talking about halting the spread of the disease thereof. Today, we're talking about President Paul Biya's decrees that raises the retirement age of health personnel, category A and B, as you said it, to 60, and the lower grade personnel raising their retirement age to 55. The news, of course, has been received here with plenty of joy and excitement, and one of those who could not really hide his joy is the hardworking Dr. Tandy Eric that you've seen so many times. Doctor, I don't know if to say congratulations or to say good news. How did you receive the news?
Yeah, good evening, Bene. I think it's a very great day. It's a wonderful day for the health personnel. And with the wisdom of the head of state for having thought of the medical corps, like he promised on the 19th of May, that he is looking and he's appreciating the hard work. I think he has transformed this hard work into action. And on behalf of the health, the medical corps, we want to express our sincere gratitude to the Father of the nation.
The question now is the decree signed by the President of the Republic. What problems do these decrees come to solve for you people in the health domain, for you health personnel?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just the fact that we have an increase of time to work to save the population is a great sign, and it's a great appreciation that all the medical team has recorded or has appreciated as far as the head of state has made it to the general public. And again, it will go as far as possible to continue to give more morals, and encouragement for those of us who are in the field and providing services to the population.
Now, for somebody like you, like a doctor, of course, there is plenty of joy. You're still going to be here. You're still going to serve the public until you're 60. Now, what message would you say you would have to your colleagues who are out there? You've been here since, and you've been working for a long time. What message to the health corps, to the health personnel?
I think from the beginning, some of us were a little bit discouraged and due to fear and stigma, but then we have to intensify our effort at all times so that our effort should never be go in vain. You remember we took an oath in so many oaths, and this oath was mainly to serve the population and to save life, and we are simply applying this. So everybody who is out there, all collaborators, please do not relent your effort. We are at war, and we have to keep fighting the war to the end. It's not only COVID, we've been fighting health war, and we have to continue fighting this health war.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And once again, congratulations. Esther, if you look behind me, of course, you see a lot of persons in the health sector working. They receive the information too, but duty first, and so they're right here working. It simply tells me that in the coming days, we are going to get a lot of reactions coming in from doctors and paramedics, both in category A and B and C and D, for what the president has done for them. Right here at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, Benin Bumagana and the entire team, we send the microphone back to you.
Very much, Benin. The President of the Republic of Cameroon has signed a number of decrees, and that increases the retirement age of civil servants of the Public Health Corps. And tonight, we have our editorialist, Ben Menopofong. You say it is a stitch in time that saves 9.
Definitely, Esther. The presidential decrees of this evening regarding the retirement age of health personnel in the country could not have been more timely, coming at a time when the country is almost being crippled by the COVID-19 pandemic, with health workers on the front line putting their lives on the line to be able to save lives and give hope to the affected and afflicted persons overwhelmed by fear and this desperation. And too often, many take this dedication for granted, both in the clinical setting and in the public health setting. And the statistics are rather alarming. In their endeavor to provide care to those suffering from the affections and infections, hundreds of these healthcare workers have either contracted the diseases themselves or simply and purely lost their lives in the process. This is just one of several reasons that might have motivated the President of the Republic to take this rather bold and enduring measures, stepping up the retirement age of these workers of the public health sector, who generally are at the beginning, always at the beginning and at the end of lives. The humanitarian and risk factors aside, the health corps in Cameroon has for several years been dormant, but it has been a dormant but a semi-active volcano, sporadically and repeatedly threatening to explode at any time. Time and time again, they have resorted to industrial actions and other sit-in strikes as a means of giving voices to their grievances and frustrations. Grievances and frustrations that all gravitate around the fact that their working conditions have been morose, that they are not liable to financial and other pecuniary benefits, and above all, that their retirement age is just 50 and 55, which they deem too early to call. Year in, year out, health workers in the country, despite the laden bitterness in them, have demonstrated a strong sense of calm, patience and moderation, all of which are paying off today thanks to the presidential decree proving that the President of the Republic has heard them and is already giving them some answers. All as the head of state, in his fatherly and stately prerogative, decided to put a smile on their faces, giving them a 5-year bonus on their retirement ages, 55 years for some and 60 for others.
And Ben, how do you think this extension will actually impact the functioning of the Public Health Corps?
In several ways, I dare say, Esther, because first and foremost, you know that the health corps in Cameroon is one of those that has suffered the most from the phenomenon of brain drain. That is Cameroonian medics who practice out of the country and in the diaspora. You would agree with me that the best crop of our doctors, surgeons, ophthalmologists, gynecologists, dentists, and even pediatricians are all practicing in the diaspora, albeit because conditions are this, as they say back home, are not motivating enough to keep them on the spot, especially the consideration of age, retirement age. That is. Now that this worry has been addressed straight on by the President of the Republic, these runaways doctor will definitely have to rush back home, and those who were still planning to run the country will definitely be changing their minds and to stay back and benefit from the largesse that the President of the Republic is giving them. You find in the medics is one, you know that in the medical field, Esther, age is one of the factors that counts. The older you grow, the more efficient and the more efficient you become. So by raising them from 55 from 50 to 55 and from 55 to 60, we'll be having a generation of medics in this country who will show proof not only of age, but of experience in handling the health worries of the country. Again, this evening's set of presidential decree come to confirm the esteem that the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has for the medical corps in this country. You would remember that on the historic speech on the 19th of May this year, he doffed his presidential hat to them for the crucial role they have been playing and which they continue to play in the ongoing battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. And so by signing this decree today, extending the retirement age, therefore give them more time to be dedicated to work and to continue playing their role in saving lives in Cameroon in the most dignifying manner.
Thank you very much, Ben Minopufong, for that editorial comment. The Jamal Hospital in Yaoundé has been one of the major institutions involved in the management of COVID-19 cases. With patients tested positive undergoing treatment in isolation today, the hospital has in the past been specialized in providing health care to persons with pulmonary infections. The personnel there is heartened by the decrees extending their retirement age. Baldwin Summer is with the director of the Jamal Hospital, Professor Joseph Mbari Nkodo. Hello, Baldwin.
Well, good evening, Esther. I should say there has been a lot of celebration amongst health professionals here in this hospital ever since they listened to the 5 p.m. newscast and got hints of this presidential decree raising the retirement age of health professionals in the country to 60 for those of categories A and B and to 55 for those of categories C and D. And with us as guest this evening is the director of the Yaoundé Jamal Hospital, Professor Jean-Marie Mindimi Nkodo, who is going to give us his immediate reaction after this presidential decree signed today. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
You heard about this presidential decree raising the retirement age of health professionals in the country. What's your immediate reaction?
Our immediate reaction is very grateful response. We are very happy to hear or to understand this important decree of the head of state today, because we are engaged to combating an enemy that we don't see, and we are very proud and very happy to this decree.
And one of the other issues that you guys have been celebrating, decree signed by the Prime Minister, head of governments, harmonizing some retirement benefits among those of you health professionals of the public sector and those who work on a contract basis with the government. Should we say it's like a dream come true today?
It's a dream that we can see like a reality now, because we have opportunity now to get the same time to go to be retired to the functions as a civil servant or as a person with contract with administration.
Thank you very much, Professor Godo. You are the director of the Jamon Hospital here in Yaoundé, for being available this evening. I should say, Esther Kima, that upon arrival in this hospital earlier today, we saw health professionals jubilating, celebrating. I should say most of them were singing songs after they listened to this presidential decree, thanking the President of the Republic for thinking about them as far as raising their retirement age to 60 for some and to 55 for others. It comes like a moral booster to these health professionals who are so involved in the ongoing fight against COVID-19 in the country. And most of them will continue celebrating in the days and in the hours ahead. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Baldwin. It is definitely news worth celebrating. Medical personnel have no doubt been on the front line since the outbreak of the coronavirus in the country, saving lives even at the expense of theirs. Many of them have been infected with the virus, and unfortunately, about half a dozen have succumbed to the disease. Yoti Kaleli Songe went downtown Yaoundé to sample opinions on their efforts. Some say they have been true to the Hippocratic Oath.
Call them brave, bold or courageous in the COVID-19 fight, and Cameroonians will agree that yes, the health personnel has been strong all the way.
The medical personnel have gathered their courage so much so far that they go closer to even those who are contaminated with the COVID-19, to be able to safeguard that, to make sure that they are safeguarded from the diseases and give them appropriate treatment as deserved.
They quickly aligned with the guidelines given by the World Health Organization and also the guidelines given by the Cameroon government to ensure that our population is safe.
Even when their working conditions were in the best, the COVID-19 task force did not flinch, but came through for the population.
I noticed that even before they received the protective kits, they were there on front, at the front, saving lives. Don't fearing that by saving life, on the way of saving life, they can expose their own life. Even some doctors died saving lives.
And they've been doing a good job.
They are doing a wonderful job, considering the death toll in Cameroon is exceptionally low.
The admiration they've gained is immense.
From my deep heart, I want to say thanks, and I want to appreciate for all the sacrifice they did and they gave and continue giving to save lives.
I therefore encourage all of them to do more and double their effort in order to overcome these challenges.
Cognizant that the coronavirus is still lurking, the medical workers say they are poised to keep rendering selfless service to the population while jubilating that their efforts are appreciated.
The littoral region is amongst the most hit by the coronavirus pandemic, and the medical personnel have been hailed for standing by patients. They have also been a source of encouragement for many inhabitants who feared going to hospitals on reasons that they may be contaminated. Renee Kache reports that they have been termed heroes today.
Doctors, nurses, carers and paramedics around the world are facing an unprecedented workload in overstretched health facilities and with no... Many have died in the line of duties. Others have been physically abused, and hundreds of others spend sleepless nights to rescue patients battling with the coronavirus. Many Cameroonians call them healthcare heroes.
The health personnel have done a lot and continue to put their lives at risk to save others. Personally, I want to thank them for the sacrifices. I know of some medical personnel who have died in the line of duties trying to rescue coronavirus patients. May God bless and protect them.
With the daily sacrifices put in by these unsung heroes since the outbreak of the virus, Cameroonians are becoming more and more confident in their healthcare workers. Doctors, nurses, technicians, medical staff, among other healthcare workers are the most vulnerable. But they continue to show up for work amid increased risk for exposure.
Government must continue to support them.
Many soldiers have seen firsthand the horrors of war, and terrifying though it often was, they knew who they were fighting and could recognize their enemy. But with the coronavirus, this is not the case.
In the West region, the population has also been appreciative of this day's presidential decree. The people say that although that many health workers have been counted amongst the infected, today it is a recognition of their work. Chanceline Nanze tells us more.
As of July 2nd, 2020, the West region has recorded 844 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, and 14.09% of this number are health personnel.
These people, they took an oath before man and God that they are out to work for people. So no matter the circumstance, that they will do their work. So I really appreciate their efforts because they are really showing to us that the oath that they took, they were out for that.
All the doctors are doing a very good work.
The population of Bafoussam has praised the effort of health workers in the region who are into a fierce battle against the coronavirus. Proof of their efforts: out of the 844 confirmed cases in the region, 418 have recovered and 53 have died.
They should continue, that God will see them through, because despite the fact that they are vulnerable, God will take care of them.
A big thank you for all things they have done for us, because they are our kind of hero.
The West remains the third hardest hit after the center and the littoral. Meanwhile, the Mifi division is the epicenter of the pandemic in the region.
Away from the presidential decrees, the bill which amends and supplements certain provisions of the 1919 law relating to freedom of association has been adopted at the National Assembly. This was at the plenary sitting chaired by House Speaker Honorable Kavayege Jibril. It was adopted alongside the bill which regulates artistic and cultural associations in Cameroon. The bills were defended by Ministers Paul Atanganji and Bidung Pat. Charles Ibune tells us more.
The question and answer session between two members of government and the National Assembly lawmakers began with the verification of the quorum by House Speaker Honorable Kavayege Jibril, who chaired today's plenary session at the Yaoundé Conference Center, the temporary site of the National Assembly meetings. Top on the agenda first was the law to amend and supplement some provisions of the 1990 law on the freedom of association.
As from now henceforth, the artists will have to do more with the Minister of Arts and Culture. That is why the law has been amended.
Clouded with criticisms by some key actors of the national artistic movement on social media, with same worries expressed by lawmakers, the bill defendant, Territorial Administration Minister Paul Atanganji, was simplest in explanations which followed the adoption of the bill.
What the government is trying to do is to create a separate instrument to take into consideration all the worries and challenges in that field, so that those who are producing all those artistic who are in that industry can rightly benefit from all what they are producing. And it goes directly to them without passing through other channels, because the Minister of Territorial Administration cannot manage their business directly.
The bill adopted, Arts and Culture Minister Pierre Ismail Bidungpat mounted the rostrum to explain the vision of a separate legal framework to regulate artistic and cultural associations in Cameroon.
These associations include companies, guilds, and unions.
According to the government bench, the law will permit talents to blossom and guarantee a better supervision for collective growth.
Only one federation in every artistic and cultural sector will be authorized.
The two bills adopted in a plenary session chaired by House Speaker Honorable Kava Yege Jibril, their next move will be at the Senate for a complete parliamentary examination.
The second ordinary session of the Electoral Board of Elections Cameroon for the year 2020 has opened in Yaoundé. Presided over by the chairman of the Electoral Board, Eno Abrams Egbe, the session will focus on the preparations of regional council elections, amongst others. Ebenezer Akanga has the details.
The second ordinary session of the Electoral Board of Elecam for 2020 that has opened in Yaoundé will, among other things, review activities of the elections management body from April to June 2020 and draw the terms of reference for field trips which the board members will undertake to the regions from the 5th to the 20th of July 2020. Opening the session, the chairman of the Electoral Board of Elecam, Eno Abrams Egwe, regretted that registration of voters into voters' lists and withdrawal of voters' cards has been seriously hampered by COVID-19.
Well, we know that we are preparing for the forthcoming regional elections, and we are role of guardian of the procedure of electoral exercises that we have to evaluate. We've come here today to evaluate the different activities that have to be between the last quarter, because we have to make sure that the process is respected.
Eno Abrams Egwe said that the field trips which members of the Electoral Board will soon undertake to the regions will be used to remobilize potential voters who have not yet registered to do so, and for those who have registered to collect their voters' cards. The chairman said that this session of the Electoral Board will also be used to continue preparing for regional council elections.
The Economic and Budget Programming Paper for the 2021-2023 period, which will be used during the budgetary orientation debate in Parliament, has been finalized. The document was adopted during the special cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute yesterday. Star Building correspondent Christian Cheatam now looks at the importance of budgetary orientation debates in designing policies.
The President of the Republic signed 2 laws in 2018 instituting a budgetary orientation debate in Parliament every mid-year. The laws oblige the Executive to present the Economic and Budget Programming Paper for the following year in Parliament for examination 6 months before. The objective is to promote transparency and good governance in the state's budgeting process. It allows parliamentarians to air their views on the budgetary choices and policies of the country before the budget is drawn up. Budgetary orientation debates have come to do away with a system where the executive arm of government made all the budgetary decisions and only came to Parliament in November with a finance bill for adoption. With budgetary orientation debates, parliamentarians henceforth play a more active role in determining budgetary policy for any given year. That explains why during Thursday's special cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Joseph John Gute hailed the advent of BODs as a victory for transparency and good governance in Cameroon's budgeting process. After the first budgetary orientation debate organized last year, it is expected that this year's edition will consolidate the practice and implant it even deeper in the budgeting usages of the country. To make the exercise even more efficient, experts have called on government to increase the capacity of structures which validate documents before adoption, and for Parliament to define a format for the examination of the documents sent by the Executive.
We should bear in mind that negligence by a single individual can seriously harm the entire community.
As announced in one of our top stories, the security situation in the Damas neighborhood of Yaoundé is under control after last evening's explosion of an artisanal device. It is reported that 2 bags containing locally manufactured explosives deposited on a repole blazed and left 5 persons injured. As Baldwin Sama reports, some 10 suspects have been arrested.
Abuzi Damas neighborhood Friday morning as after a locally manufactured bomb exploded, leaving 5 persons injured, among them 2 with 2nd and 3rd degree burns respectively. We are told that between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Thursday night, 2 bags containing locally fabricated explosives were deposited under this electric pole by unknown individuals that later on exploded.
While in my shop, I heard an explosion. When I stepped out, I saw flames around this pool. As I got closer, I saw a pot inside where locally manufactured explosive mixed with fuel that exploded. I saw people who were selling around seriously burned.
After the incident, a mixed team of security forces invaded the neighborhood with over 10 suspects who have been remanded in custody. Those injured were taken to this nearby clinic before being referred to the Yaoundé Central Hospital.
We received a lady who was seriously burnt yesterday everywhere alongside another young lady. We gave them some antibiotics before they were taken to another hospital.
Friday morning, police officers were seen around the neighborhood in search of any suspects as investigations continue to track down those behind this unfortunate incident.
The detonation in Damas yesterday brings to 3 the number of security threats in Yaoundé in the last 1 month. To this effect, Governor Nassere Paul Biya has chaired a crisis meeting grouping security and administrative officials in the Central region to maintain order. At the end of the exchange, he enjoined the population to denounce all suspected persons and to collaborate with the forces of law and order. Here's an excerpt of the Governor Nassere Paul Biya.
Urgent crisis meeting following the incident that took place at Damas, where there was an explosion of an artisanal bomb which wounded 4 persons with 1 seriously, even though their lives are not in danger. We have had this for the 3rd time, and there was a first crisis meeting held in the Ministry of Defense, and we think that we should involve the local administrative authorities and the forces of law and order so that the operation can be more effective in the field to enable us to be able to ward off this action, which is a new phenomenon we just started in town. We instructed the administrative authorities to sensitize, to communicate to the population, to give information to the forces of law and order concerning these various operations, and especially people whom they suspect are new in their quarters. And we want them to equally involve the traditional rulers who can be able to tell us those who are new in the quarters.
Today is International Plastic Bag Free Day, observed to raise awareness on plastic pollution, which is a global catastrophe caused by man. These plastic bags littered all over the planet have an extremely disastrous effect on the environment, wildlife and human health. In spite of this, the population is yet to part ways with these plastic bags. Alice Mbe tells us more.
Non-biodegradable plastic bags have become part of our everyday habits. Traders say they prefer plastic bags to paper bags because they are more comfortable for usage, particularly wet items. We prefer plastic bags to paper bags because paper bags can easily drop out our goods. The only problem with plastic bags is that they are not degradable. In the Fundi market, plastic carrier bags can be obtained as cheap as 50 francs.
When bags are cheap, we can sell them cheap also, but for now the dozen price has risen.
Meanwhile, many supermarkets have made the transition to paper bags. We are using paper bags because we want to be in line with the Ministry of Environment to fight against the usage of non-biodegradable plastic bags. Even though these plastic bags are detrimental to the environment, many people still persist in using them.
It's been a couple of years since the government of Cameroon placed a ban on the use of non-biodegradable plastic bags. Regardless of sensitization and repressive measures taken, the smuggling of the products in the country's borders is still rife. Joyce Kimbe-Fuwaje probes into some of the reasons why non-biodegradable plastics are still used daily.
It is a cat-and-mouse game between government and illicit dealers in non-degradable plastics in Cameroon. 6 years after the ban, resistance is still stiff. Despite incessant sensitization and repressive measures by officials of the Ministry of Environment, statistics still shows that over 2 million tons of non-degradable plastic bags litters the country annually. Further information from same source shows that hundreds of illegal dealers in plastics less than 61 microns had been detained and fined since the ban was imposed. But all these are yet to produce the required impact of reducing environmental pollution and possible health hazard caused by the increased use of non-degradable plastics in the country. Questioning on why the resistance, official sources from the Ministry of Environment and Nature Protection says efforts are impeded by small shop owners and hawkers who operate informally. Secondly, blame is on the socio-economic crisis in the northwest and southwest regions for weakening the repressive measures against illegal dealers in plastics. The authorities say the biggest threat to the ban is from cross-border smuggling. Despite these challenges, the ministry in charge has liaised with municipal councils across the country to crack down on hawkers and other recalcitrant retailers. Regional delegates from all the 10 regions have been ordered to intensify the sensitization of the local population as to the dangers in the use of non-degradable plastics. But a renowned environmentalist suggests to government that industries for the production of alternatives to these non-degradable plastics should be mounted and at low prices to win over the population.
In other news, a digital youth service center to train young persons on digital economy has been launched in Yaoundé by the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, Monona Futsu. The collaboration between governments and a non-governmental organization, AfriCPI, has had some 200 youth trained on computing technologies. Romeo Kenya reports that it is part of the Special Youth Triennial Plan.
They award of end of course certificate to some 227 youth trained in the domain of digital economy here at the Yaoundé Reference Multipurpose Youth Empowerment Center. The exercise lasted for a week and it falls within President Paul Biya's vision of creating over 30,000 jobs for Cameroonian youth in a 3-year special program.
This project we are launching today is part of this digital economy. Is a federative project that can mutualize all the efforts of the other young people installed by the program by promoting them through digital platforms, but also permitting them to offer distance services.
While officially launching the project, the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education encouraged the trainees to make good use of the skills acquired by creating their own enterprises.
What we ask for young people now is to be themselves involved and very engaged in their project, because as you know, it's a personal accompaniment that we do for young people.
The training will be extended to other regions of the country soonest. It is worth mentioning that the Digital Service Project is just one of 17 existing others put in place in 2017.
Now on to the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. A consignment of anti-COVID-19 items have been offered to public and private schools in the Yaoundé 3 cancelled area under the project Schools Void of COVID-19. Through this gesture, the Belgian Embassy in Cameroon, UNICEF and the Yaoundé 3 Council are ensuring that pupils and students take examinations under safe circumstances. The donation coincided with the first council session of the new executive of the council. Emmanuel Avenue tells us more.
They have braved the health pandemic to seek education, and sound education they want to get, as thousands of face masks, laundry soap and hand washing buckets offered camp to reinforce the safety of examination candidates in schools in the Yaoundé 3 subdivision. The Belgian government, UNICEF and other partners are for the concept Schools Without COVID-19.
We want to show our solidarity with Cameroon, where there is a socio-economic impact which is quite very strong on many people, a large part of the population who cannot always afford even to buy masks and to take all the barrier measures.
Every school establishment in the subdivision is a beneficiary, a gesture saluted by the mayor of Yaoundé 3, Luc Oona, as one that supports the council's vision. A vision examined and evaluated during the first council session. Issues of infrastructural development were on the table.
We envisage a complex around a Fulan Lake with restaurants, shops, green spaces and playgrounds. We hope to realize this with our partners.
The councillors are unanimous, therefore, that giving the Nsam market a facelift, constructing a multipurpose hall for the council while developing the Efulan Lake and creating commercial areas for business will upgrade the lives of the population of the subdivision.
And we end our series of reports tonight on a sad note. The mortal remains of the super-skilled civil administrator Martin Mijou have been coffined in Yaoundé. The statesman served Cameroon's public administration for 40 years and was Secretary of State in the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications before his retirement. Kilian Dandifon reports on the demise of the man who hailed from the Lake Division in the Centre region.
From 1943 to 2020, the late super-skilled civil administrator lived for 77 years. The professional, ethnic, social, religious and biological families represented at the coffining ceremony to limit the numbers in respect of COVID-19 measures were gripped by melancholy and compassion in regret of the loss of a loved one. And love and commitment as the late man's character traits featured in the funeral service at the Yaoundé Referral Hospital mortuary.
Martin Mijou has a respect of the life. He loved his church, and he led to the church of Africa a great sign. He have built a church in his village and gave it to the mission.
The top administrative officials, among them cabinet ministers, notably Henri Eyebe Ayisi and the governor of the Centre region, honored the dead and his family for an acclaimed and fulfilled life. In different public administrations, he served as Director of General Affairs, Financial Affairs, Director General, Board Chairperson and Secretary of State at the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications after studies in Cameroon and France. He will be buried in his hometown, Fomakak, Saturday.
And that ends this edition of the 7:30 News, in which you heard that the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, in a series of decrees, has raised the retirement age of civil servants of the Public Health Corps to 60 and 65, decisions which definitely acknowledge their sacrifice. Join Atabadine Omar at 8:30 p.m. for non-news in the French language. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Good night and stay tuned to the programs on CRTV. Stay safe. The coronavirus is real.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.